Yeah, that transition is huge. You start to realize there's a lot more on the line. You start to take yourself a little more serious, and you start to realize that your goals and they matter. They're not. It's not an option anymore. You really have to prioritize it if you want to do what you're going to say you're going to do.
All right, we got Bmar in the house, the MusicPreneur podcast. Bmar, thank you for joining me today.
No doubt, man. It's an honor, man. Thank you for having me. I feel good. I feel blessed, man. I'm excited to talk about music entrepreneurship and the creativity, man. That's what we look for.
Absolutely, man. So, as I understand it, man, you're 24. You're based out of Central PA, Pennsylvania, and you really derive your creative juices and your inspiration from more of that what now is considered to be old school. Although I grew up in it, with the early 50 Cent, early Kanye West, the college dropout. You've opened for acts like Jim Jones, Chief Keef, and Rakim, which is impressive, man. So tell me a little bit about your background. What got you interested in making music to begin with, and maybe even touching on those influences of yours.
Yeah, for sure. The hip hop bug bit me around like 4 years old. I was in the car with my mom, and Get Rich or Die Trying and the College Dropout just came out. So, that was a big pivotal point in my life, to where I knew at a young age subconsciously that hip hop resonated to me, that spoke to me, and I loved how it represented being a voice for the voiceless. And I realize that now as I'm older, but as a kid, I realized not a lot of people represented this side of life that I see on a daily basis. So it was cool to see that, whether you're the kid in college with the backpack and the polo, or whether you're the gangster, I thought that was super ill, how expressive and free, but also how beautiful it sounded. So off rip, as a kid, I knew hip hop and music, specifically was like, I knew that was what I had to do at a young age, for sure.
Man, that's amazing, bro. And you obviously touched on something that I feel like is missing from hip hop nowadays. And we could argue, not you and I, but like the larger culture as a whole could argue this. And back in the day, I sound like an old person, but like back in my day, we used to look down on biting, right? And so 50 Cent, Kanye West, two very distinct styles. Do you feel like that's missing from the hip hop culture today, even just as a whole, from just cross genre? Do you feel like artists are not unique enough nowadays? Is it too much of a melting pot, or is it just not seen as much on the mainstream, but it's still, does it still have its space? Now, before we continue, I want to give a huge shout out to our sponsors, DistroKid, who continue to pour over into the MusicPreneur podcast, making sure we bring you the best of the best content with these interviews and everything surrounded musicpreneurship. Now, the reason why I love DistroKid so much is when I was a younger artist, I needed an opportunity to distribute my music without breaking the bank. In order to adjust to inflation, DistroKid has raised their prices. However, it's still under $2 a month, and you could distribute unlimited amounts of times, meaning that you can upload singles, albums, EPs, without having to break the bank every single time you distribute your music. Most importantly, they continue to develop new tools and features for artists so that you can continue to promote your music, to make sure that everything looks and sounds good and is ready to go to be distributed. I encourage you to visit DistroKid if you're not already a member. Check out all their amazing features, sign up today using my VIP link for a discount, and enjoy the rest of the MusicPreneur podcast.
Yeah, what it is the accessibility, man. The accessibility of how easy it is going to cause an influx of more artists. So you're going to get more of the same type of music, obviously, if you have more people doing it. So back then, shit, I sound old too, kind of, but like back then, it was a limited amount of artists. You'd have to be signed pretty much. And it's a beautiful thing because we could be independent and put out stuff, and we have the access, which is dope. But like I mentioned, you're going to get a lot of people just trying to make it and have the sound of what is currently popping today. And it comes with it, it comes with any industry, man. Someone makes an iPhone, there's going to be many carbon copies of it. The more access we have to technology, and especially how mainstream music is now, just in terms of TikTok and everything, there's going to be a lot of people who sound similar, but the real passionate ones, they stand out. The ones who are passionate and the ones who are real, the ones who really put their soul into it, you could tell,
Yeah. No, that's facts, man. You're
Yeah,
closing in on 10 years of making music, from both producing to being an artist, and obviously you have your own company essentially. And so, talk to me a little
yeah.
bit about, starting from scratch and then moving forward to actually, whether it's creating a business, creating an enterprise, even just being an artist and seeing yourself as a small business. What's that transition
Mm.
been like for you?
Yeah, that transition is huge. You start to realize there's a lot more on the line. You start to take yourself a little more serious, and you start to realize that your goals and they matter. They're not. It's not an option anymore. You really have to prioritize it if you want to do what you're going to say you're going to do. And we have our label, Gutter Rose Entertainment. Me and my brother, Official Heck, we launched it back in 2020.
Mm.
And ever since then, we've been running, man. Hit the gas running and just learning a lot. We don't know everything, we don't know half of it, but we learn, and there's access, like I mentioned prior, and we can do it. Anybody can do it if you have the heart and you put the work in, so yeah, man, I think it's beautiful. I love the journey I've been on so far, and I just every day I want to learn, and follow the blueprints of dudes like Nipsey and Hove and Master P, and just the importance of independent catalog. And especially in 2023, man, as you know, like we have so much information and so much on our side in terms of catering to the independent artists. Like this is the time to really win. And I know I want to, and I really just want to learn and see what I can do while I'm here,
A lot of artists are moving into that independent category from being previously signed. And then, of course, you have Master P, who literally rejected a record deal, started from the bottom, created his own enterprise, essentially, and was able to scale his business exponentially. Obviously, Nipsey Hussle is another testament to that. You have Jay-Z, same thing, try to shop out for, record deals and labels and whatnot. Couldn't get one. It wasn't even out of a lack, really it was out of lack of options. So for you, is this something that you're seeing yourself in terms of being an independent artist, creating your business? Or are you seeing it more from, let me create enough leverage so that if I do sign, I don't have to give away as much, use the record label for whatever they bring to the table, and maybe hop out of that, deal eventually, but still retain a lot of my freedom? What's your take on that? Over the last 10 plus years, I've poured a lot of money, time, energy, and effort in growing my small business as a music creator. There's been a lot of ups and a lot of downs. I've been able to tour nationally and internationally, met amazing artists like J Balvin and Juan Luis Guerra, and I've had an opportunity to connect with international TV networks like MTV3. On top of that, some of my music has been placed in international TV shows and amassed over 1.7 million streams. Even with that, it's very difficult to make sustainable income when it comes to being your own independent music creation machine. That's why I've created the MusicPreneur Academy. I'm pouring a lot of my own knowledge, understanding, experience into this academy, whereby creating many courses that are digestible, easy to implement, easy to read through, and in some cases, easy to view, so that way you can get started on your music business today. Look, let me cut to the chase. There's a lot of stuff out there online that either overpromises and underdelivers, tries to overcharge knowing that most musicians won't recoup, or through traditional institutions, a lot of the information is honestly just outdated. I have an MBA in marketing, a bachelor's in advertising, over 10 years of music making experience, including music production, audio engineering, recording my own videos, being my own brand manager, marketing manager, the list goes on. The link is in the description below. Check it out for yourself. I promise you, this is the best of the best information that's out there at this price point. Take advantage of 50% off the MusicPreneur Academy with our first mini course that teaches you about how to productize yourself as a brand and creating a merch line. Much love to you all. Now back to the podcast.
Yeah, I think the second option about gaining the leverage and getting with the label, I think that's completely cool too. One of my favorite artists, Russ, actually did that. I'm sure you know of Russ. Independent artist, gem, man. Like that dude is damn near the blueprint for us right now in our generation. And he was independent for 10 years straight. Had a 3-album contract with Columbia. Went inside for a little bit, did his work, did his time, and got all the connects information. Went back to independent and finessed and made money still, and still owns his catalog. And
Right.
And in those instances like that is really, really smart. And like you mentioned, though, the key word is leverage. Not everybody can do that. And you need to really have that demand. It's the fan base. You have to have a demand, and you have to be worth an investment. We're investments at the end of the day. If a label does even look at us, it's money, it's business, So But to answer your question, I am building my business, and I think that's very important because I think you need something to stand on at the end of the day, a foundation. You know, I can't rely on the label always wanting me, regardless if I have leverage or not. I want to build my own factory. You know what I'm saying? So build my own well-oiled machine to where I know I can do what I need to do in terms of survival, in terms of living out my passions and my goals. So yeah, I think depending on the situation, wherever, you know, God takes me, whatever life takes me, you know, I'm gonna have to, regardless, I'll have my head on straight and I'll know the information I need to know. You know what I'm saying? Because
no, Bmar, you're touching on some great points there, man. And I appreciated your candor and the humility where you said we don't know everything, but we're figuring it out. And I think that posture is the posture that a lot of Fortune 100 CEOs have, the posture that a lot of small business owners, mid-sized business owners have, that allow them to have longevity in whatever industry and field that they're in. Because ultimately, if you're not a student of the game, forever student of the game, whatever game you're in, you can fall, right? You can be like Blockbuster and get beat out by Netflix. You know, you could be like, whoever. It doesn't really matter. But at the end of the day, being that student, I think, is important, like you mentioned, man. Another thing I wanted to touch on was you mentioned owning your catalog and the importance of that. So do you really think, in terms of your own business, that's the primary thing that you're trying to build? Is it the catalog, or is it perhaps kind of like maybe Kanye West? Let's touch on Kanye West for a little bit. He obviously built his career to a point where he was the brand, and everything that he touched, regardless of his catalog, turned to gold, whether it was fashion, whatever it was really at that point in time. Yeah. So what angle do you see yourself? Are you open to both? What's your take on that?
Wow, that's a great point, and I never even thought of it like that. You know, Kanye is literally just a walking piece of art. You know what I'm saying? Anything he does is, like you said, he has a stamp on it. In terms of myself, man, I think that's up to the people to decide. Oof. You know, I think it's up to the people, bro. You know, if I could put out I'm going to put out a catalog regardless, but if I connect and touch people in the way Ye did and the way J. Cole did, then I'll accept that, man, because I'm a human being. So if these kids resonate to me more so for my mentality and everything I do, they take note from, that's a blessing to me. And or if they just rock with the music, that's a blessing to me. You know, at the end of the day, it's positive. You know, as long as I'm doing positive things and putting positive things on record, then either one is cool with me. But in terms of a brand, you know, I'm just myself, and if I resonate, I resonate. As cliche as that may sound, but like, you know, I love music and I make music and I have philosophies and thoughts, and the people resonate with that, and they put me on I don't want to say pedestal, but a certain expectation, then I'll accept that, you know, because I'm prepared for that, and I'll have that perception and that mentality regardless if people are watching me or not. So, you know,
right?
Yeah.
You mentioned something earlier that came across here while you were speaking, and it's the fact that we're so connected nowadays, right? That there are a lot of carbon copies, and to a degree that also makes going back to the leverage, right? Your leverage in being able to utilize tools like social media, YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, so on and so forth, TikTok nowadays, right? Where you put yourself out there, and as long as you're authentically you, which obviously you could tell by this interview, you could tell by your music, you could tell by everything that you're saying, that people will automatically resonate with that level of authenticity. And in my personal opinion, again, I don't know everything either, but in my personal opinion, people listen to Russ, but then they appreciate the person behind the mic, right? Mm-hmm. They listen to Kanye back in the day. You know, obviously people have mixed opinions of him now. They appreciated the person behind the mic. Same thing with Jay-Z, same thing with Master P. There was something to the person that was behind the music that made people like fully on board and essentially, you know, creating that personal brand. So yeah, man, I think you're spot on with that. Again, going back to being unique, not biting, being yourself, building that personal brand. What do you think is the big?
I'm sorry, man. I just want to add to your point. That's emotional connection. That's like that's like a human aspect. That's also a business point, like a key thing in business and branding. Emotional connection, like even with like brands like McDonald's and stuff. Like people emotionally connect to that stuff, and Yeah, I just want to add to your point. I didn't mean to cut you off, man.
No. You're good, man. I appreciate the conversation because, like I said, it's very fluid. I actually wanted to get your
Oh,
take on what do you think is the biggest obstacle for either independent artists or even artists that are signed today to make that jump from thinking,
hmm.
I'm in my little bubble to actually seeing themselves as a business, as an enterprise, as a Russ, Nipsey, Master P. Is there I don't know, what's the obstacle in your opinion?
I can't speak for everybody, but based on like what I've seen so far, I think the obstacle is them not knowing what they can do by themselves. You know
Oof.
what I'm saying? It
Wow.
depends what type of artist you are, but if you came up with a major, and then you see everyone going indie, and you're stuttering to do it, and you're hesitant, it's because you don't know what you could really do without the label. Are these people really going to show up to my shows? Am I really going to get these streams still? And
Hmm.
that's why, like, dudes like Russ, they don't even care. They're arrogant with it because they're like, yo, I've been doing this. And rightfully so, though, in a sense, it's because they
Hmm.
earned that. Um, they never had a major. He did it with the major after he did it independent.
After the fact. Yep.
Yeah. So that's a different type of confidence, man. It's like I've been here before, and
Right.
it all goes back to demand and fan base, and
Right.
which is super dope because at the end of the day, this whole life thing is about the people in it. So you can take business out of it, and you realize, yo, it really is just about human beings and connecting with people. And of course, you got to get your business right. There's another side of the brain that has to separate that to go, okay, let's strategize now. Let's think. Let's not think so. I want to say like, oh, life is just about people. It is, but
Hmm.
when once you factor both of those energies in, like the masculine and the feminine of the business and the creative side and the people, that's when
Hmm.
you can create something that's when you can create something that's just meant to be, I guess, and a purpose. It's a true purpose. So I hope that
I
answers the
like how you said
question,
that.
man. But yeah,
No, yeah, I like how you said that, the masculine and the feminine energy, because that thought has come across before to me as well, because it's kind of the, like the more let's get business done, right? And then there's kind of the empathy, the creativity, the translating, people's universal emotions into words, because that's a gift. Obviously, you have
mm,
a gift that not a lot of people have, and I've noticed this about myself too. Is like somebody like my wife, for example, she has a harder time getting words in her, like, whatever she's feeling, she has a harder time translating that to like specific words.
mm,
It's just not her gift. But for somebody like you, for example, you can captivate somebody's emotions because you felt that, or you resonate with that, or maybe you've experienced it, or you've seen it from afar, and
mm,
then you put that into a song that conveys emotion. You pen out the words that convey emotion, and then
right.
that connects with the other person, right? And that's the beauty of branding as well, man. Which, again,
Mm,
great point you made, because at the end of the day, a good brand will resonate with somebody, usually at scale, and then it
right.
can turn into, you've given me value, therefore I'm willing to give you value, whether it's monetary, whether it's appreciation, whatever the case is.
Yeah.
Without that goodwill, without you giving value first to the people, it's like it becomes short lived. So I
Yeah.
appreciate you saying that, man. That was clutch.
No doubt.
Yeah, I wanted to ask you about, so now moving into kind of like the more of the business side,
Mm.
of your company. Do you guys see yourselves as artists first and then move in that capacity, or have you thought of yourselves as, we want to also be kind of a house for other artists,
Mm.
provide services for other artists, because that's also a big thing too, right? Providing
Yeah.
services for other artists. How do you tackle that? How do you navigate that?
Oh yeah, definitely. Starting, I mean, when we first started, we're artists first. We're just two artists trying to figure out. Let's make a conglomerate. Let's make something cool that we can live under. And as we expand, by the grace of God, man, I would love to give people opportunities and services, and provide outlets for independent artists like myself, or the kid who like needs just help with marketing and can blow up, or the kid who just needs to know how to post content and then it's set. 100%. I want to solidify myself before and create something that we can stand on before I invite others to stand on it, because I don't want to promise anybody something I can't keep. And I also want to
Mhm.
make sure if I do give services to others that it's going to be the best and it's going to be polished and prepared, as opposed to just jumping the gun, basically. But yeah, 100%, man. I would love to do that. It's about giving game, man. Like I love receiving game, I love giving game, and
Yeah.
that's the coolest thing about it. You know what I'm saying? You can learn something one day and Oh, my phone's falling down. But you can learn something one day, and then you can retain information and give it to somebody the next. So I think that's super dope. And like right
Yeah.
now, like this is cool. Like I just seen your page. We chopped it up, and I was like, yo, anybody who's about this, like I'm with that. You know what I'm saying? So, and your music is dope too. I checked the music out. So
Appreciate it.
no doubt, man. So anything like this, it's just about exchanging information, bro, and growing. You know what I mean? That's all I'm about.
Right.
So
Right.
yeah.
No, yeah, that makes sense. I think that there is kind of that level of, like the wolf pack, right? At the end of the day, you could be a lone wolf and
Yeah.
you're exposed to a lot more. But when you travel together, you go further along with a pack. Then maybe you go faster by yourself. But there is kind of that not saying, but kind of just the notion that if you go with a pack, if you go with a group of people, you can't get further. And from what I understand, Russ had his homies. He was trying to get them up and popping before himself, and then that's really what allowed him to find his groove, understand himself as a producer first, and then from there as an artist, because seeing what worked for his dudes and what didn't work and that sort of thing.
Yeah, that's real.
Yeah, man. In terms of strategy, I know that you are releasing singles frequently. So you said that you're set to release a new single every week, along with your newly highly anticipated album, Our Graceful Obedient Death. Tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah. This year, 2023, I want to drop at least 3 songs a month. Every other week. It falls on like the middle 3 weeks of the month. So, like maybe the first week or the last week might not get it, but like 3 weeks in a row, I want to just drop singles. And I mean, shit, in January, I dropped 4. I just had so much music. I was like, you know what? I'm going to do it. So I don't know. It's a spontaneous thing, whatever I create and whatever I feel, just put it out at the moment and see what happens, and, do it the best you can to market and, just do all that extra stuff. But my project, Oh God, How Graceful Obedient Death, was that took 2 years to craft, and that was just based off of I guess the subject of that would be the psyche of somebody who's going through hell mentally, but can see the light and just has to get through it in order to find it. So I just wanted to make that. I wanted to make a soundtrack to that, and just how I felt personally about certain subjects, like some of the songs, Heartless, Searching, Nightmares. Just certain titles. Like if you listen to the project, if you get a chance to ever get a chance to listen, you can tell it's rock influence, electric guitars, distortion, vocals, raw raps, and storytelling. It all blends, and that's how I knew it was supposed to be one body of work as opposed to singles, because I'll be doing a disservice to myself and other people if I didn't put this in one serving, and not in an egotistical way, but I feel like it 100% emotionally belonged with each other. I know you understand. Right. You make music, so sometimes projects, sometimes certain songs just have to live with each other for it to make sense.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, it totally makes sense. I'm just thinking of a painter or sculptor or somebody who has an exhibition, and everything kind of fits together, and it doesn't really go. You could showcase one painting, but there's kind of that like fluidity between the painting and the next painting, and just that body of work that was crafted within that certain time, where your headspace was at, where your spirit was at, where your emotions were at, so on and so forth. Even your collaborations. How do you deal with burnout, creative burnout?
Oh yeah, I love this question because I always tell people the same thing. If I'm not inspired, I just won't do it. And there's a thin line between that. I mean, like sometimes you have to do exercises and seek certain things to get inspiration. Sometimes because there might be a time where you're not inspired for like a long time, and then you kind of have to work for it. But in terms of forcing something like writer's block, for example, I always get that question, like, how do you deal with writer's block? And I just say, if nothing comes to me and I don't feel like I need to write anything, I just won't. And I revisit it again another time. It may just not be time. It may just not be the moment for you to pen something or be propelled to do anything to that song. Or if in terms of like when I'm lacking inspiration, I just go listen to my favorite music. I vibe out. I live my life. I go for a walk. I listen to some oldies and vinyl. I make beats, so I be sampling. So I listen to some samples. Just listen to. I think like it's easy for us to always be inspired because we just listen to music all day, You know what I'm
Right.
saying? Our Instagrams are
Yeah.
full of artists and new videos. So it's like you see something, you're just like, you know what? I'm gonna get on my stuff now. I'm inspired now. Like,
Right.
you know, I guess that's really what it is. I never really thought of it till now, but it's just being surrounded by dope energy. And
Mm.
you know, if you're somebody who just got into it and you realize you're not really surrounded by it because you haven't put long enough years to be surrounded in that environment yet, it's harder because you're just like, yo, like I just pick up a pen and write every day after school. But for us, we already know this is our life. Like our
Yeah.
everything around us is gonna inspire us, you know? If that makes sense.
Absolutely.
But
No, it makes sense. Yeah.
yeah.
So during those times where you do feel inspired, do you find yourself making, large bodies of work, single after single after single,
Mm,
or do you try to concentrate that energy into making the best possible single, just
mm.
one thing at a time? Like how do you focus that energy?
Yeah. It all starts with one thing, I think. And then that's what like
Mm.
for me personally, like for my last project, for example, it started with a guitar riff. I just had one little
Cool.
guitar riff, electric guitar riff, and it sounded like almost cinematic as if a scene was opening. And I said, yo, that's pretty cool. And I just messed with that. And I made a bunch of other songs with guitars and with that same vibe. And before I know it, I'm working on a whole album in a week. And I'm like
Wow.
off of that sound. So you never know when creativity can hit and what it could lead to. Right now I'm doing the singles thing, obviously. But me, I never know what's gonna happen, bro. Like
Yeah.
I'm over here driving today, and I'm thinking of change or choose in my head. I just keep hearing the phrase change or choose because of something I'm going through in my life, and I'm like
Mm.
that could be an album right there. That could
Yeah.
be a project, and I'm just
Right.
like you never know with me. I'll drop singles and then boom, surprise album. So I
That's
think
crazy, man.
I love the spontaneous energy that comes with being an artist, man. It's not just me; it's everybody. Everybody has that
Right.
ability to just be like, you know what, I got inspired today, or something happened in life that kind of effed me up, but I'm gonna use this and I'm gonna offer something positive to the world, and that's super
Mm.
ill to me. That's super dope.
Yeah, no, I'm glad you said that, man. I think for me, the reason why I asked you that question is because I think for me, I was so used to being very spontaneous, creating something, releasing it right away. And now I'm kind of in that season in my life personally. And again, I don't want to detract too much from you as the main focal point of this
Mm,
interview. But I share this because I feel like it could use some artists could use this
yeah,
vantage point at least, and that is that there are seasons where it's plentiful, right? There are seasons where you have a lot of emotions, you have a lot of inspiration, a lot of creativity. Maybe your diet, your sleep game is on point. You're drinking your water. You're going to the gym. Like everything's just on point. You're focused. You're dialed in.
right,
You're making music, and you release everything. And then you go through a dry period where maybe you're dealing with some family issues. Maybe you got to pick up an extra job just to make ends meet. Maybe something happens where you don't have the time, energy to create that same output, and now you don't have anything to put out during that time.
right,
All that being said, I'm thinking, yo, maybe I could store up some of that material and strategically release it as opposed to dropping it all at once.
mm,
And again, maybe it's just me, but I wanted to share those thoughts, see what you think of that. Is that something that you've done before? Or are
yeah.
you like what I'm used to doing, which is I'm inspired, I'm getting ready to put this out in the next month or two. Do you have a strategy, a vision for that? Or again, are you just inspired? You just want to release it
Yeah.
as soon as you can?
Nah, that's dope. I did the same. The songs that you're hearing from this year, I did what you just did, what you just said. I was
Wow.
going through a lot, like some of the things you mentioned, bro. Like
Hmm.
the job thing, family, all that. A lot of the songs I'm dropping this year was me in 2022 going through a lot of things and just keeping them saying, I know there's something like literally verbatim what you said. And that's
Wow.
funny you say that. I'm like, yeah. Granted, I'm making new stuff now as I progress and I know what the plan is now. I can make something and drop it next month. That's cool. But the majority of these songs, bro, were saved. The song that's dropping this Friday was made in May of
Wow.
2022, and it's dropping this Friday. And but the song that dropped last 2 weeks ago was made December 30th, and that dropped in January
Sheesh.
what, like 7th? You know what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
it's yeah, but I 100% agree with that, man. Sometimes you just gotta keep things um on hold until you really know what the purpose is for it. So yeah,
Dope. Yeah, I think it's a good business strategy. Obviously, that's something that the labels do more than the artists themselves. Because if it was
mm,
up to an artist, they'd release their music continuously, and sometimes there is that tension between a label, not releasing the song or the album or the project, EP, whatever the case is, music video in some cases, and the artist wanting to release music continuously, right? And I think they think of it more from a strategic standpoint, when the time is right, product market fit, all those things.
Yeah.
I think obviously it requires a lot more discipline as an artist to say, I'm going to hold on to this because I'm excited about it, but I'm going to hold on to this until either A, the time is right, or B, I'm hitting that lull and I need to, release fresh music even when I'm not able to create. So
yeah, being independent has its perks, but it's harder to maintain and earn that stuff.
Thanks.
Like when you have that demand and that real fan base, you can put it out anytime you want, and you don't have to worry about none of that, man. Like independent is so thrown around the term nowadays, but it's, if you do that correctly, which I'm still trying to do, and I still every single day want to build my army of fans and listeners every single day. But once you reach that, man, and the fruits of your labor are really brought to life, it takes years for a reason, the quicker you come, the quicker you go, man. So
yeah, I mean, you're competing with a well-oiled machine that's been around for decades, and that's the the big labels, right? They've already established their enterprise, their corporations. They have millions, if not in some cases billions of dollars that feed into the machine for marketing purposes, for production purposes. They don't always manage the money right, but at the end of the day, there's enough there to be able to carry them through. You know what I'm saying? I think as an artist, you have a lot more, like you said earlier, there's a lot more at stake. You have to take yourself a little bit more seriously. Doesn't always have to be all business like, we've discussed, but at the end of the day, if this is what you want to do with your life, there is that level of accountability that you have to kind of own up to. So I appreciate your insight, B-Mar. Where can people find your music? Anything related to you, your brand, your business? Where can people find you, man?
No doubt. You can find me on all streaming platforms at B-Mar, B-M-A-R, all caps. Instagram, B-Mar_music. TikTok, I think it's B-Mar.music, I'm pretty sure. And yeah, man, B-Mar on all platforms, man. You'll find me. You'll see me. We're just pushing good energy, man, and quality music and a message. My message I want to leave for the people is real music for real people. And this is just whether you want to turn up, whether you want to talk about something, whether you want to cry, whether you want to sing along, man, like it's just life, you know what I'm saying? So it's like I treat music and my fans like a relationship. Like I really see people as my family. Like even our conversation, I can just tell like it's genuine, and I dig that, bro, because we need just more connections like that in life, and that's what leads to not just happiness and peace, but success too. So yeah, man, real music for real people, bro. Just trying to live a good life.
You heard it here, folks. B-Mar, MusicPreneur. Check him out. Obviously, music-wise and everything related to B-Mar, he's going to be your go-to guy. So, B-Mar, thanks again for popping into the MusicPreneur podcast. And, man, we'd love to have you back on. I know I would love to interview you once you're as successful, if not more successful than Russ. So let's aim for that, brother.
No doubt. You already know.
I hope you enjoyed today's episode. This episode was brought to you by DistroKid, produced by my company, NTS Media, and hosted by myself, Nico Santana. If you enjoyed this episode, I encourage you to join our online community on Patreon, patreon.com/Nico Santana. Make sure to join the MusicPreneur tier to get access to exclusive interviews, exclusive content, tips, tutorials, and more. This year, we'll be releasing some amazing tools for the everyday musicpreneur, so stay tuned for that. On top of that, you'll get access to one-on-one support, mentorship, coaching, and the like. And if you enjoyed this episode, make sure to give it a like, share it with a friend, subscribe to our channel, and watch the following episode. Much love until next time.